Alright, so I had a little bit of free time, so what I'm doing is basically going through all the little light bulbs on the outside of the car. So the fronts, the brights, and the regulars all work. I did have to replace this one, it was bad. But I want to show you guys something cool that you might not know about these Mercuries. Obviously it's a Ford, but it's cool because it's got these little blinkers. In the hood. They're much more impressive at night, but I want to show you guys this. Like, look how slow this one's blinking. It obviously needs a new flasher, but what I had to do in order to get these to work is here in the back of the car. Yes, I plan on replacing those tail lights, but both of these two bulbs were out, and I got those to work. So this one, on the other hand, doesn't look like it's working, so I might have to replace those. I haven't gotten those out yet. They're kind of stuck in there. But yeah, little things like that. I mean, getting the blinkers and the brake lights and all that stuff to work is good. I know this is a little premature, but I still have to do it. I just have to see the potential that this white paint has. Like I said, it's been sitting a lot, so obviously nobody's been taking care of it. All the big chunkies out. Got a little bit of rust, but most of it's in the rear quarter in the back. Look at that. Can you see that from there? Let's get closer. So there's the part that I didn't clean. There's the part that I did. You can see that line. I'm hoping the rest of the car will turn out just like that. But right now, I'm going to clean out the inside. Oh, it's going to be beautiful. Even though this car basically still runs and drives, I drove it on the trailer, I drove it around my house to the driveway. I'm sure it hasn't had an oil change in at least 10 years. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I got some cheap Walmart oil for it and a cheap oil filter. Cheap, yes, but it's better than 10-year-old oil and a 10-year-old filter. So let's go ahead and pull this plug. We got awesome dented drain pan, or oil pan. Let's pull this plug and see what the oil looks like. Hopefully it's just gross. Not too bad. At least there's no water in it. It's really thin. So it's really gross, actually. So we'll let that drain out, and then we'll pull the filter and take a look at that. Since I rebuilt the carburetor, one thing I'm going to do is replace this. So on the bottom of the fuel pump, there's actually a fuel filter. It's this huge canister part. Pretty neat design by Mercury, believe it or not, but I know the fuel pump works, so let's take that off and see what that looks like. Alright, here's the original filter canister. I think I'm going to clean this up and put this one back on because it's cooler, it's got a sticker on it. But let's see if the filter's been doing its job. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. That gas looked gross though, so I think it's worth replacing. Yeah, that's pretty gross. We'll just dump that out and clean this up. Alright, so here's the new filter versus the old one. I'm also going to reuse this. I cleaned it pretty decent. Replace element with AC type FGF157 replacement shell. And I'm not gonna. I'm just going to put in the new filter. So I decided, after seeing how nasty that fuel filter was, I'm going to go ahead and just pump out a lot of the old gas that's in that gas tank, then replace it with new. So I got my fuel line unhooked from my carburetor, and then it goes down into a bucket. So that gas doesn't look too bad, but I just want to get at least some of it out before I start putting fresh in. want to show you guys. In this bottle is basically brand new gas I bought yesterday, and inside the car is what's coming out. And believe me, there's a different smell between the two. This smells like a gas station, that just smells like varnish, and it's super gross. So basically I'm just going to pump it out until I'm going to put 5 gallons in the tank, and once it starts coming out looking like that, then I'll know I'm good. Even just a little lighter would be better, but that's some gross gas. So I filled the carburetor up using the fuel pump, so all the bowls on both of these are full. Connected the spark back together, so let's see if it'll go. Well, it runs, but it definitely smokes. Now, I don't know whether that's just because it hasn't been running a long time. It needs all this, all the carbon blown out, or whether it needs rings and all that kind of stuff. Don't know. A little popping. Not sure what that's about, but it runs. Alright, I got it to idle a little bit better. What I had to do was lower the idle. Somebody had jacked it all the way up, probably to keep it running on that gross gas. So, last time I drove this, the power steering really sucked and it was shaking everything everywhere. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put it in the alley, probably check the transmission fluid and then put it back up. I don't trust these brakes. So let's do it. Parking brake off. The tire's still groaning a little bit. Definitely needs redone. There's the Corvette. So it goes backwards, that's good. Yeah, the power steering sure shakes the car. Ooh, really close to the fence. Alright. Let's go into drive. You can see the stain on the driveway where all the power steering leaked out. Oh! The brakes you can hear dragging, but we're driving it. I'm gonna drive around the block. Hopefully I make it. Looks like all my gauges work. Can't really tell. Gas gauge doesn't work. Speedo works. Oh, it shifted. It shifted. I believe this is only a 2-speed transmission, so that's good. Good to know. It needs an alignment like none other, but that's to be expected. Alright, brakes. We're gonna try the brakes. They're not too bad. They stopped the car. Sort of. Like, I've yet to check the timing, I've yet to check the dwell. The carburetor hasn't been tuned at all, other than just putting it to, base settings, but it's okay. That exhaust leak is awful in front of the car. There's a shift. Probably use a transmission fluid flush and filter change. These wheels are awful. Probably need shocks and suspension and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the gas gauge doesn't work. I don't think the oil pressure sender works. volt sticks right in the middle. Oh, you can hear the brakes dragging, and these tires, they're awful. It's really hot in here too. So back in the engine bay, I was using the temp gun to kind of see what the temp was at. 194. It was a little lower until I turned the car off, but one thing I noticed is this. Little leaks! So the system is pressurizing. That's still good. I think next is going to be fixing the power steering and fixing the brakes, because the power steering is kind of, it works but not that well. I know it leaks like crazy, and the brakes are just, they just drag, and I'm sure they need rubber redone, and I'm sure I have leaky wheel cylinders and stuff like that, but hey, it's pretty good for a first test drive of such a car that been sitting for the last 10 years, so not too bad.